Alright guys, in this video we're going to be covering the 10 best secrets to upping your Heroclix game. That and more coming right up. Mr. Clixflix is brought to you by Lucky Dice Cafe out of Huntsville, Alabama, home of the ROC. No matter if you're in the United States or around the world, Lucky Dice Cafe has the winning role for all your gaming needs. You can visit them at luckydicecafé.com or on their Facebook page using the link found in the description of this video. Mr. Clixflix is brought to you by trollandtoad.com, one of the largest online gaming retailers. Please visit trollandtoad.com and use the promo code Mr. Clixflix for 5% off your Heroclix purchase today. Alright guys, so today we're going to talk about the 10 best Heroclix habits. These are things that are going to help you win the game, before, during, and after the game even starts, that have nothing to do with your figures and how you position them or anything like that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is always read your opponent's Heroclix cards. This will let you know any special powers that they have, any traits that they have, because a lot of times I know I have this problem where I'll misremember something. I'll reread the card and I'll be like, oh, that totally doesn't even work that way. And something else that's important to note that's sort of a bonus tip is that the order that a power shows up on a character card is the order that they are on the dial. So if a character has impervious, toughness, and then combat reflexes listed on their dial for the or listed on the character card for their defense, then at the beginning of their dial they have impervious, somewhere in the middle they end up with toughness, and then somewhere at the end they end up with combat reflexes. Now you're not going to know exactly where those start, but you'll be able to plan around it and sort of know when to use your outwits, when to use your perplexes and things like that. And it's not something that's readily apparent unless you know that. So only way to know that would be review your opponent's character cards before the game starts. Next thing on this list is reading your own cards. I can't tell you how many times I looked at something that was on my team and then realized it did something extra that I hadn't been doing the entire game. And had I taken the chance at the beginning of the game to just review my own character cards and didn't just assume I knew it, it would have helped me tremendously. So another great Heroclix habit is to always review your character cards just to make sure that you know, and also it helps you, make sure you have all your stuff there for the game. Next tip is after you read your character cards, read them again. That is how important this is. You need to do that twice. You need to have looked at your opponent's character cards. Definitely something that happens at the beginning of the game that a lot of people don't do, and it is super important. Next thing we're going to talk about is giving the map a good once over. This is whether you win map or lose map. It doesn't matter. I get in the habit of I like to play right to left on a map. And there's been a bunch of times where if I would have just given the map a good once over, I would have realized that the way it was oriented, that I would have been better off playing left to right. So just give the map a good once over. Once you set down, if you win map roll and you set down map, your opponent selects their side, make sure to give the map a good once over too, so that you know where you got to set up your characters, right side, left side, middle, if they got to be kind of spread out, stuff like that. So just give the map a good once over so that you can sort of get, I would say, your first 2 to 3 turns planned out based on where you're starting. Definitely a very important thing to look at that's going to help you up your game. Next thing that's going to help you is always asking a judge. This is something a lot of people get nervous about because they think that their opponent will take it personally if they call over a judge, but they're not, or if they do, they shouldn't. Just because everybody's wrong. I know I've been wrong. I played against opponents that were wrong. And it's just, it's one of those things where, especially if it's important in the game, but even if it's not important in the game, just so that you learned something maybe you didn't know, or your opponent learned something they didn't know, call a judge over, have them make a ruling, and then they know for next time, or for next time. So definitely something that's going to help you with your Heroclix game, because eventually, hopefully, you're going to know as much as the judge, so that maybe you'll be able to catch your opponent not understanding how something works, so that you can leverage that into a victory for yourself. Next thing we're going to talk about is remembering that it's just a game. I think a lot of people get hung up in the competitive mindset can overwhelm a person sometimes. You see this in sports, anything to win, and then you'll have some people that for Heroclix, maybe they weren't the most athletic person, so then this is where they do all their winning, and they take it a little too serious. They don't have a well-rounded personality, and it's because they don't remember that this is a game. And especially if you get two of those people playing against each other, it turns into a real issue. So if you ever start to see yourself, sort of getting out of center and stuff like that, just remember that it's just a game. It's meant for people that are 14 years old and up. Nothing's really riding on it. Even if you're playing in a match that's worth $1,000 if you win, it's just a game. It's not worth getting all bent out of shape about. Next thing we're going to talk about is playing online, and this is just general practice. But I have it on here as playing online because that's pretty much the easiest way to practice. There's dozens of people online at any given moment that are actively looking for games. They're casual or they're competitive, so there's always somebody on basically at any time of day or night, 365, that's looking to get a game in. And you'll be able to practice a team. You'll either be able to practice for your local venue's casual event, you'll be able to practice for your local ROC or WizKids Open, and it's just going to make you a better player. It's going to help you out with some social skills so that you're talking to people online. And it's a good experience in general, and helps grow the community whenever you do the online stuff. And like I said, it really makes you a better player, and the better you are, even if all you do is play casual games, so that you're doing something that does help you in competitive, because it keeps all the powers and abilities fresh in your mind. So even just that base knowledge, once you learn the basics, it's really hard to beat somebody, even if that somebody knows all these advanced tactics and stuff like that. Somebody that has a really good grasp on how barrier and force blasts work can, and I have seen, overcome somebody that's using really advanced tech just because they had that good of a grasp of the basics. Next thing we're going to talk about is play as many figures as you can. I'm not talking about necessarily on your team, although, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. I've been known to have 20 figures on a team for a 300-point match, so it doesn't matter. But what I mean by that is play as many figures from your collection as you can. This is a collectible game, and it sort of feels to me like if I'm not playing all the figures, I'm kind of wasting some money, and it takes away a little bit of the joy. So if I play all the figures, I feel better about that. It makes it so that you're knowledgeable about what each figure does and their capabilities and their drawbacks, and it helps you be aware of powers and abilities that you might not necessarily use, and it brings it so that knowledge is to the front of your mind, so that you know how they work and how they interact with each other. And then also it's a way to discover some cool combos and stuff like that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before for that particular figure. So it's just, to me, it's really important and really helps make people better Heroclix players. Next thing we're going to talk about is taking your time during your turn. Now, I'm not talking about stalling or turtling or anything like that. It gets a real bad rap whenever people take their time to think through a turn, and there are some people that take too long and are very obviously slow playing the game because they're up by 15 points or something, and you're in the semifinals of a WizKids Open or something like that. But generally, people aren't going to do that. What you need to do is you need to think through your entire turn. Don't just think about your first move or two. Think through your entire turn. Say, okay, if I'm going to move A figure and A happens, then that's good. But what happens if B happens? What's my backup plan for that? Well, maybe that backup plan's bad, so maybe I want to do something else. Take your time with your turn. Nobody's going to be there rushing you. Generally, in a game that's 45 minutes, you might get 5, possibly 6 rounds in. So that's 5 minutes per turn, basically, per player. So it might feel like you're taking a long time, but even just a minute, if you feel pressured, feels like a long time anyway. So just take your time during your turn, take a deep breath, think through your entire turn, and then once you do that, then you take your actions, and those will happen pretty quickly because you already know what you're doing. But you're not making the mistake of placing a figure and saying, oh, well, I really don't want to do that, I'm going to go back here. And then you have the chance of playing against a dink that says, oh, well, you already set that there, so you can't do that. And it just helps save a bunch of people from hurt feelings, and it helps make you a better player because you've definitely thought through your entire turn. And the last thing we're going to talk about that's really going to help you become a better Heroclix player is subscribing to the channel. You hitting the little subscribe button below and the bell notification so that you know every time I hit a video on the interwebs. You guys let me know in the comments below what are some of your best advice, little tidbits of knowledge for players to get better. Really enjoy reading those. I think people get a lot out of that stuff. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, give it a share. Really helps keep me motivated to make these videos. That's all I have for you today. As always, please remember this only critical miss if you don't have probability control.